All right, and we're recording. Mr. Jean-Pierre Fuchs, how are you, sir?
Doing great. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming on the show. I'm joined again by Ryan Pateracki. We haven't seen you in a while. How you doing, Ryan?
Good, man. Been real busy. I'm sorry. I mean, I've been trying to break my neck to make these pods, but last time I got, unfortunately got stuck in traffic and missed the opportunity. So.
Yeah, we missed you, Ian and I, and
Ron,
guest Ron. Yeah, God, I've done so many podcasts this week. I can't remember who I interviewed. So Jean-Pierre, you're our guest of honor. So we're going to start with you.
All right.
So we'll get to one of the reasons why you're popular later, but right now I just want to talk about you and your career. Oh, there's one of your cats.
Yeah, they're all over the place.
When did you start bodybuilding?
So when or where? So when I was.
And you're from Switzerland.
Yes.
Okay.
I was. I know. I mean, it's hard. I mean, I joined a gym the first time when I was 15, but I did all kinds of stuff before that to kind of put any form of or muscles on. It just didn't work. Mm-hmm. But I remember it was like in the second grade. I was 8 years old when we had this kid. He was a year older, Marcus, with like a really formed kind of chest, a separated chest. And I hated the guy. I absolutely despised the guy. I could not believe that some kid can have a chest like that. So I tried from there on, push-ups, whatever I could. My grandfather gave me some equipment, expanders, and kind of weird feathers together to pull apart, anything I could, chin-ups, but nothing. I mean, I was the skinniest kid, on the planet, fast as hell, and, on skates or on my foot or on a foot or whatever, and nobody could catch me. I even won some titles and sprint titles, local, of course, So I tried to go to the gym every year. Every year I was sent home, too young. We have a 15 age limit. And with 15, I finally, signed my first membership. And from there on, it went quickly. I remember I gained so much weight, in the first year. So to answer your question, I would say 15.
Okay. How old were you in your first show? Do you remember?
16.
So you're 16 for your first show? Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
It wasn't smart, but I did it, know. So since I was from a mountain state, kind of in the southern kind of the Italian border, so we didn't really have a great knowledge down there. So I felt like I'm really good, and I told my parents. So I said, look, I'm going to go do a show and I'm going to win. My parents hated all of this bodybuilding stuff. So I went to the beginner Swiss championship in Rheinfelden. I remember right at the German border. Just that day alone was comical. Just to get there, three friends with a small car, engine exploded, and all kinds of stuff. And of course, I placed last place. And I mean, 4 competitors, the first 2 were way better than the rest of us. And then the third guy was pretty fat himself. So I thought, okay, I can beat that one, he placed third, get a trophy. That didn't happen. No. So the thing is, I was not even looking so bad when I started my prep. But then I started prepping and then got little bits of information here and there from the magazines, and started to drink instead of water orange juice, and this is strange, and it got bigger and bigger and fatter for the show. So as I placed last place, I knew I cannot go home without a trophy. There's just no freaking way. So I grabbed the trophy backstage, not even my class, I grabbed the trophy and took it home and told all of my friends, look here, I won a trophy, guy, So I brought the trophy home. put it on the table and said, I told you I'm good in this. And the phone was ringing. Literally at the same time I presented my trophy, the Swiss Bodybuilding Federation. I should, return that trophy I stole at the show. Yeah, that was my first show. So there was a there were two guest posers there. Frost was gay. He was a Swiss champion. I think he placed 8th at the World Championship at the Mr. Universe the year before. And Ralph Möller, who just placed 3rd at the World Championship. I think he was losing out against Gunnar Rospo and Lee Haney.
Oh, wow. Well, now, obviously, this is in the 80s.
Yes,
okay.
There was 83, 84, somewhere in that time.
Okay.
So the good thing about all this was when I saw Rolf Möller, I could even sit down with him and ask him some questions. And I remember I looked at Rolf, and he was massive. But I looked at him, this is this cocky kid I was, and I looked at his legs and I thought, I'm going to have bigger legs than that. But I did know I need to train a few years before I getting back to any kind of show. And that's what I did. I trained for 4 years without any shows. 89, I went back to do my next show.
He's a little younger than you, wasn't he, Ian? How old were you, Ian, when you started?
I started lifting at 15.
Okay, so you are about the same age. Yeah. Now in Switzerland at that time in the 80s, was bodybuilding big or no?
No, very big.
Oh, very big. Okay.
It's not ice hockey or ski or soccer, of course. Okay. But I remember the shows were sold out at 4 or 5 shows a year, 2,000 people at the Swiss Championships, massive classes with especially the lightweight, middleweight, 70, 80 athletes. The heavyweights weren't so many. Then later on I changed, the heavyweights classes became bigger. But yes, he was way bigger than now.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, absolutely. And we had shows with 4 or 5 guest posers. I remember there was one show, it was Brian Buchanan, Rich Gaspari, Anja Langer. Really, it was a great time to be a bodybuilder, so there was a huge following, and the magazines were big. So we had the Sport Review, where we were pretty much fighting over the few we had on the kiosk. We were there days before they arrived, and it was a great time to be a bodybuilder. Absolutely.
Yeah, and we didn't have the social media back then, so everybody, if they wanted to see you, they had to come to you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or the magazines, but they were limited.
There's a part I really liked, compared to now. To find out stuff, you had to get your ass up and travel. And I remember a few years later, I did my second World Championships. The first one, I was a little bit young. I was only 20 years old. I didn't have a chance there. So they were drug tested. And of course, we were not drug free. We were just kind of stopping everything at the time. And I remember I heard this information from a friend of mine that there is a testosterone you can take 3 days before the show. But of course, we had no idea, just was kind of hearsay, she say, or, so there was this guy in Austria, close to the Swiss border, Alfred Krautgartner. He was Mr. Universe NABA.
Okay.
And I knew this is the guy to ask. So we just, one of my friends had a driver license. We drove 7 hours out there and pretty much to the town we knew he lives in, and asked, people around, where does he live? So we got to his house and pretty much disturbed him during dinner. We are from Switzerland, we want to talk to you. Yeah? So he was willing to talk to us if we buy a whole bunch of Ultimate Nutrition products. So yeah, he did. And then he gave me this tip, this fast form of testosterone you can take till 72 hours before the show. What, not that year, a year later, turned out to be very, very valuable, and pretty much, I don't know if that made me a world champion. Of course not. There's so many components to it. But today you would find out that information probably in 2 minutes in the internet.
Yeah.
But the romantic part of bodybuilding is kind of gone. He had to go to Venice, California, to talk to everybody, and it was great in that regard.
So back then, that was, you said, what year was that when you went over to Austria? That was in the 80s, you said?
Yeah, there was.
So Arnold wasn't there then. He was gone by then.
He was gone. He was long
Yeah,
gone. Yeah,
yeah.
He was already doing Terminator and all that stuff. Yeah.
Mhm.
So I think Alfred Krautkorner, the guy I'm talking about, he did then come to the IFBB and compete and do a few shows there. I think he even competed on one Olympia, but I'm not sure about that, or Night of Champions.
Mhm.
Yeah, and then we went to Venice every year, you know, saved all our money up. And I remember I used to go right straight up to Mike Christian. He was the biggest guy in the gym, ask him all kinds of questions. One of my friends, Bernie, he spoke English, and Mike didn't know much, you know. And I always told my friend, I said, look, not much about the stuff we wanted to know.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I told you, they're not going to tell us here, you know, they keep it as a secret. And many years later, I talked to Mike about it. You know, he did, of course, not remember me. And he did answer me the question exactly the same way. He said, I really didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
You know? I didn't know. So, yeah, it was a great, great time. I mean, the 80s, I think, was the absolutely golden era of bodybuilding, although my era was the 90s. But the 80s, when you see some of that old footage of Gold's Gym, although they do kind of try to recreate it a little bit out there in Vegas right now, and I'm sure it's fun too, but it's never going to be like that again.
No. I think it's definitely a lot different now.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And now those young kids know so much, they don't have to figure it out anymore, you know, how to train, and with all the gurus now. And I remember just alone, what system do you train with? There were so many different training systems we were constantly hearing about. I remember there was the Bredenkamp system coming from Germany, then heavy duty, then you know, the extended kind of heavy duty Dorian used, and the pyramid system, and shock training, and all of this stuff we had to try out, you know. So today it almost feels like everybody trains kind of the same way, and it can be good, you know, a little more. They sure don't make a ton of mistakes, or some of the mistakes we made, but still I like the time you needed back there to kind of figure stuff out and kind of grow into that role of being really a bodybuilder.
Yeah, I find that a lot of the people nowadays have too much information. They get too many contradicting, you know, information from different sources, and it kind of misleads them in one way, then they're pulled the other way. Instead of sticking to one solid, you know, plan at a time, then there's just overload. There's just an overload of information that can be damaging.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it's so much better when it was just more simple.
And one thing we had back then is, I don't know, but I can only tell you about in Switzerland, there was this common wisdom: you don't take any steroids for 5 years. It was just, you figure out first how far you can get, and in 5 years, if you maybe win a local show or something like that, then you start to kind of talk about it. And then when we started to experiment with cycles, it was not like a complete cycle in no way. You know, we had occasionally bodybuilders from Czechoslovakia crossing through our valley. I'm not going to say names now, with the little suitcases, and then they sold you like a bottle of Turinabol, you know, and then we were all around, okay, what do you think? One before the workout, he didn't really say, and, you know, and so then we took like one Turinabol half an hour before the workout for the next 5-6 weeks, and we grew massively, and this can't be from that 10 milligrams of Turinabol, you know. It was just, we were so into it, and the psychological effect of it, you know, was just great to kind of find out stuff, you know.
Yeah.
Ian, you gonna say something?
Yeah, well, it's funny you should say Alfred Krautgartner. He was an incredible bodybuilder. I remember him very well, John. I saw him compete several times, because I started in NABBA. I started competing as a junior in NABBA. I won the NABBA Junior Britain, then the NABBA Junior Universe in '88, before I turned pro in '89. And I was only 19 when I was competing in NABBA. But I saw Alfred Krautgartner compete several times, and he was an incredible. He had a blonde flat top, right?
Oh, absolutely.
It was a great poser, and he used to come in diced, absolutely diced.
Yeah.
I saw the blank look on Jason's face. Sorry, when you mentioned Alfred Krautgartner's name, and I'm like, yeah, I got to say something about that guy, because he really was an incredible bodybuilder. Never got his deserves in the IPB. He never got looked at properly.
Yeah. We talked about that when we had Ron on, about the guys that just weren't noticed that should have been noticed.
Yeah.
A lot of the NABBA guys, I guess myself included. Brian Buchanan was a NABBA guy. Bertel Fox was a NABBA guy originally, but a lot of NABBA guys got kind of Eduardo Kawak. Do you remember Eduardo Kawak?
Incredible.
He was an incredible bodybuilder, and they just didn't get a fair. They didn't get judged fairly, I don't think, in the IFBB.
Yeah. Although myself, I'm not in that category. You know, when you talk about not having given a fair shot, myself, I had this incredible body going like to the photo shoots, you know, 2 or 3, 4 weeks before, and then I didn't know what to do with it, you know.
Right.
So I remember going into that last week, and there were a few things I just religiously followed all of those years. Used to get, yeah. Yeah, that's a different story, that picture. I'm going to tell you about that later.
Okay.
How that came out. So I had those few things I messed up in the last week. I remember Chris Lund used to tell me backstage, he said, what the hell? That has like, it is not the same guy I took pictures of a few weeks ago. And I did get the fair shake, you know, especially the European tour. I got the comparisons. I just was never really in great shape, you know. A few good showings I had were purely by accident, you know. So then when you went to a European tour and then had a show like 3 or 4 nights in a row, I couldn't use my messed up system for the Olympia. So certain nights where I just kind of got it right by accident, you know. Gotcha. And then what the hell is going on with this guy? And then suddenly I placed second and beat Levroni and Tillet, you know, but I had no idea why. So I remember in Russia, I had some fast-acting insulin and liquid Lasix, you know, no idea how to use that stuff. So we arrived late at the hotel. I injected that insulin, ate a lot of food. And then an hour before, I was still watery, like you have no idea. So I took a liquid Lasix, no idea about that. And it just worked out perfect. So backstage, Levroni comes up to me and said, wow, what the hell? You know, I said, yeah, thank you. Placed second at the show. So Joe used to tell me, why do you not do the same thing you did in Russia? I said, I don't know about that, you know. I don't think that will ever work again, but, you know. So, yeah, that was a little sad in that regard, you know, when I look back, but, you know, mostly was all positive. But, you know, I sometimes I have regrets, you know, when I look back, you know, with a guy in the corner like me now, with some kind of knowledge, you know, I could have probably be the guy who really chases Dorian. You know, I wouldn't maybe have beaten him, but really kind of be Dorian's Jay Cutler like Ronnie, you know. But it just didn't happen, you know. It's just I used pretty much this system I found in the Sport Revue when I was a young kid. Barry Dumais last week. And I pretty much followed that system to the brink, all the way to the end. And I never realized when I didn't look good that that system is messed up. I was always kind of using excuses, and I was one of the youngest guys on stage with Chris Cormier and then a little bit later Lee Priest. And I was like, well, I just have to get bigger, and then next year I'm going to win. You know, I never realized I have to win right now. You know, there might be not the next year, or who knows what's going to happen, you know. So I was always kind of, not like, oh my God, I look like a water balloon. It's like, oh my, I just have to get bigger. I just have to get bigger, you know. And then Dorian is older, and, you know, and Kevin and those guys are all 4 or 5 years older. It will all work out, you know, instead of hiring somebody who knows what they're doing, and then just dial me in for those shows. And again, here, Joe Weider was really furious with me. You know, he used to give me phone numbers of Chris Acedo and Chad Nichols, and just call this guy in Texas. So occasionally when I met those guys backstage, so I didn't speak a word English. So it didn't feel comfortable for me. And I also didn't really know I have a problem. You know, I always thought, oh, well, next year I'm going to be so big, you know, I'm going to beat everybody. And then it goes fast. You know, you have your 3 or 4 year window, at least in my case, and then it's over. Yeah. So in that sense, there's some regrets, of course, but altogether, I did as good as I could, and to the best of my knowledge, and I gave it all. I mean, it's just I trained like a maniac. And when you talk to the younger fans now, and what you make out of it now, it has hardly anything to do if you placed 4th or 5th or 6th or 7th, 15, 20 years ago, except if you win Olympic titles. But that's a total different animal anyway.
Well, Jean-Pierre, you dealt with a lot of injuries, and I mean, obviously you had your main injury, but you had some sicknesses and some injuries and stuff getting ready for Olympia a couple of times, right?
I wouldn't say that. I mean, I had the few things I had they're all well documented. So actually, I didn't really have any injuries for a very, very, very long time because I was so young. Still kind of surprising with the weights I used. And then I had
didn't you say one time you tore your calf or something like that? What year was that?
Yes, the 98. That was the first one. That was not so bad. It was just a partial tear in my calf, but I didn't take care of it. And then my whole foot almost died off, my whole leg being black. So it turned into a really big deal. So I couldn't really do anything else than some leg extensions for the 98 Olympia. So it would have still been okay, but it really, really hurt my glutes. Were already on the small side, I mean, although it wasn't that big of an issue back then, people were hardly talking about glutes. But then there was, I don't know if you heard about the Sinto incident.
I saw that. Yes.
So when it was not Sinto, when I met this bodybuilder in Germany with the absolutely most massive arms I've probably ever seen, and they did not even look so terribly bad. I mean, you could tell something is fishy here, but they don't even so bad. And then he sold me that stuff to inject into my biceps, and it was so full of alcohol, that stuff, and I hit the vein right away, and it spent the next 4 weeks in the hospital.
Oh, wow.
And there was about 6 weeks before the Olympia in 98. And, as they filled me up with Lasix all day long, IVs, and I just worked on cables in the hospital bed. And I just didn't want to give up. I just did not want to give up. Dorian was gone. I was kind of considered one of the 4 or 5 guys with kind of a chance. Ronnie was hardly even on that list, at least not before the Night of Champions. Then he came onto that list. He was like Flex, Nasser, maybe the guy from Switzerland. And then I was just released from the hospital like 10 days before the Olympia. And I lost so much weight, and then brainwashed myself right away, because I kind of liked what I saw in the mirror. That is kind of a weird thing when you're a young athlete. I was much, much smaller, but more symmetrical. So I felt like, wow, they're going to like this. They're going to, this is like almost like Steve Reeves coming back in a way. And then, but then again, then I go back to my weird Berry DuMais system, which didn't work. And then the small guy was not even hard, So it was just a big mistake, the whole thing. Once you end up in a hospital before the Olympia, you just skip that Olympia and focus on the next year. That was pretty much, it was not even an injury, that was kind of my first real accident, the partial tear in the calves, that was easy to kind of to overcome. And I had a little elbow injury, but that was pretty much it. Still the big one, of course.
Okay.
My problems were not injuries. My problem was just my addiction to become 300 and whatever pounds. I started to pile on muscles, and I had so many guest posings. People loved what they saw. With 300 pounds, I was almost ripped.
What was your heaviest?
340.
Oh my goodness.
So I was doing guest posings with 320, where I was a little watery, of course, but the people loved it. They hardly ever seen anything like it before. And I was pursuing that so extreme, that getting bigger, that I totally lost my sight on being a bodybuilder. So then suddenly I found myself on stage so overloaded with muscle, and not the good kind, you know. When you look then at this
big.
picture is good, is that what we're just talking about.
Mm-hmm.
You can see how the visceral fat, you know, how the stomach gets bloated from just too much food, too much insulin. And that is actually, I call this this picture kind of that's the change. This is where I should have realized, oh my God, this is going the wrong direction.
Yeah.
You know, and I had no idea when it came to food choices where you avoid that visceral fat buildup. I was a big pasta eater, constantly eating wheat products, and you know, didn't really realize what I'm doing to my physique, which is I want to get bigger. I want to get bigger. I'm going to crush everybody on stage. I want to get bigger. Till at the end, yeah, I was big, all right, but there was not a bodybuilder anymore. You know.
And what were your numbers then? Like, what were you benching and squatting then?
Oh, I was only benching till I was about 20 years old, and then kind of hurt my chest a little bit. I never benched again, but I already benched over 500 pounds with like 21. And squats, I could do 320 kilo for 8 to 10 reps. I could do deadlifts at the end of the workout, 340 kilo for 4 reps. It's very, 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 very strong.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
So you didn't do any bench pressing after 20? What kind of chest workouts did you do?
No, dumbbells, you know, or the machines where you had the inside motion where it kind of comes together in the middle.
Yeah.
It's like a more natural motion, but I felt like this bench press is just riding on my shoulders, and although it felt good when I was young, I just didn't feel like this is an exercise I should pursue. And yeah, I stopped doing bench press with 20. Up till today, I never bench press again.
Wow, that's crazy. Yeah, I tore my pec a couple of years ago, so I wish I would have took that advice.
I had a partial tear on my pec, a partial tear. I was lucky. It scared me, you know. And it was not just that. Analyzing a lot of the physiques, the earlier physiques, I was always a student of bodybuilding. I love to, you know, study up on the 60s, 70s, 80s. And I always felt like the guys in the 70s, 80s, even Arnold, with all this bench press, that very often their shoulders looked kind of flat and overtrained. You know, I did so much bench press. That's at least was what my theory was. So I looked around, and who has like a really, really great chest shoulder combo? And my favorite was Ron Love.
Ron Love, yeah.
So I don't know if it's true or not, but I saw an article about this chest training, and I saw that he did chest shoulders together. You know, at least that's what I read. So there was the theory was train chest and then just very little shoulders, because every chest exercise is already shoulder exercise, and then don't touch it anymore for 3 or 4 days. And when I started that, my shoulders absolutely exploded, you know, so that's how that came kind of about. But yeah, bench press, I skipped very, very early. I stopped very, very early.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I did exactly the same thing.
Yep, and you can count me in on that too. I did the same thing. Backed off the bench way, way, way earlier in my career. So just went just straight dumbbells.
Yeah, I can definitely echo that. I think I stopped when I was like 18, 19. I didn't do any benching. The first gym I owned here in the States, I didn't have a flat bench press in the gym. I didn't have one. I eventually got one because of peer pressure, basically. So many people wanted one, but I don't agree with benching. So I agree.
Yeah, you won't see one at my gym either. I don't have any just regular flat bar benches.
Yeah, you don't. I just realized that.
Nah.
Yeah.
How old are you? When were you born, JEAN-PIERRE?
How old I am?
Yeah. When were you born? What year were you born?
68, November 68. So I'm 52.
I was born in 69. I had no idea of your age. I think I competed against you in my last ever show, the 98 Arnold Classic.
But here, I just actually recently saw that you were in that field.
Yeah. I remember being in the competitors meeting, and you and NASA were talking away, and that was where I decided to retire. So I'm like, there's all these guys coming in. I'm just going to bow out. I was like, I think I was 28, and I just called it a day, just quit.
Yeah, they gotta recognize the moment. Absolutely.
Yeah, you got no one to bail, right?
Yeah, my moment was seeing Victor Martinez at the Night of Champions. You know,
He won?
I just knew there's a new guys coming up. There's no point for me. I'm not gonna find the rank here and go back to beat Ronnie Coleman. You know, so
Yeah.
Right.
Now, you're pretty close with Nasser, right?
yeah, we were.
Yeah,
Well, we had a very,
I saw you got a lot of picture of you guys together. Let me see if I can find.
Yeah,
some.
but we had a very different relationship. It was more outside bodybuilding, to be honest.
Yeah.
You know, it was Nasser was. I believe. I don't know if he would confirm that he saw me as a real legit threat. I truly believe that.
Yeah.
And he would not have given me an inch, giving me like in any sense, any way advice or anything like that. You know, it was just absolutely zero. So what I found fascinating about him is his knowledge about history and his photographic memories and talking about anything else other than bodybuilding. And I was always amazed how he could, with a relatively high fat, body fat percentage, being so dry on the shows. Because when I was kind of in the hotel, when I was helping him with tanning or anything like that, I could tell he has way more body fat than me. You know, but then he found a way to really kind of dry out. And when I asked him about that, there was really nothing coming to me. He gave me one piece of advice in all those years, and there was double up the pro iron 2 weeks before the show. That was pretty much it. So all he was always interested in when it comes to bodybuilding, when we went to the gym together, we never worked out together, but we went to the gym together during vacation or so. And that's what do you do for back? That was always his thing. What do you do for back? You know. Yeah. So
this is a good one of you guys together.
Yeah, he talked to everybody about bodybuilding except me.
Never spoke to me about bodybuilding.
Yeah, that's I'm not the only one.
Yeah,
it's funny how we met, Nasser and I. European Tour 96. We were at the airport in Frankfurt, and he's like, "Hey, Swiss guy, give me my bag over there." And I said, "You gotta be fucking kidding me! Get your own bag." Yeah.
That sounds like him.
we became friends immediately after that. So he did come to visit me in Switzerland a couple of times. Yeah, there was so much fun, the guy, you know, it was so much fun. And it's kind of too bad he couldn't stop, you know, it's just, he went on and on and on with, whenever his placings dropped, he told me on the phone, like endless about conspiracies. And it's just like, wow, I mean, really, you know. So, but that's not the Nasser I enjoyed, you know. I not even knew why he really is in bodybuilding. I saw him so much more than a bodybuilder, you know. So, and I was also convinced that I'm way better than him. Maybe not right now, but you know, give me a year, I'm gonna beat the living hell out of that guy. I did have that kind of arrogance, you know. I always felt like his back is so, you know, I'm so superior in my back. I'm gonna beat the living hell out of him, and you know, this is the way I was thinking back then. Yeah.
Was there a particular Olympia that you walked into thinking that you could win it?
Oh yeah, 97. I think a week before the show, after about everything I saw at Goals, because everybody was pretty much there other than Dorian, I think I was way better. Absolutely. I mean, I was so round and so big, you know. There was a black and white video made on my shoulder workout about 2 weeks before. And it was just all about dialing this in the right way. But of course I didn't, you know, and I did my stupid system at the end again, with not drinking for days and no salt for days and flattened totally out. And at the pre-judging, I was a mess. I was a total mess. Because when I stopped the bleeding, I got crazy diarrhea. Because I think I elevated the oil and the fat too much during the depletion phase. My body wasn't used to it. And I remember the very last depletion workout, Wednesday at Gold's. I was just running into the bathroom and just, peed out of my ass pretty much. And that was like, I couldn't load. It was like that for days and days and days.
Mm-hmm.
At first, I considered even dropping out of the show like 6-7 hours before the pre-judging. So I just couldn't eat anything. I was so depleted.
Oh, wow.
I then had a protein bar. It was the first thing I could keep. And on stage, I was sweating, it's not looking good at all. And then there was a day and a half in between pre-judging and finale. So I could start to eat a little bit and really dried out nicely. And was pretty much the third best bodybuilder when we left stage, and this was confirmed by several sources to me, that when we left stage, I was the third best bodybuilder, but it was too late. The pre-judging was messed up, and I knew I'm seventh. I know when I look at the comparisons where I'm at. So, but going into the Olympia '97, I was absolutely convinced, like a week, 2 weeks before that, I'm going to win that Olympia, 100%. Yes.
Yeah. When I had Ron Love on and Ian, we all talked about when you guys were on stage, if you do you feel like if you would just been put next to Dorian, or were you ever put next to Dorian? Like, they felt like if you guys were compared more with the top guys, you probably would have placed better.
I had a comparison in '96 with Dorian at the Olympia.
Mm-hmm.
I did, but also to be fair, '96, '97, it was not Dorian from '95 or '93. Mm-hmm. '96 he was a little bit on the small side, and '97 he was a mess.
Yeah.
So unfortunately Nasser couldn't take advantage of it, because Nasser had so much Synthol in his shoulders or whatever it was. The pre-judging kind of looked okay, but in the finale it was so washed out, and back then you cannot just kind of be similarly good. You have to really knock the champion out.
Yeah.
So a European tour, I had several comparisons with Dorian, and I never beat him. I absolutely never did. But of course I had the body to beat him, but not the knowledge to beat him. And another thing I did absolutely pay no attention to was presentation. Absolutely. So the funny thing is, I had the best stamina probably of any athlete up there, other than maybe Lila Brada, the generation earlier, because I could pose up to 1 hour, and I did that. I started with 16 weeks out, 5 minutes a day, then 10 minutes a day, just base poses and really hard posing. Mm-hmm. The problem was that I never filmed myself. So mistakes I made, they just intensified over the weeks. Mm-hmm. So you've seen so often when you see me on the video with the turns, then I just let loose, I just, where they would never have happened to a Levroni or a Sean Ray, Mm-hmm. So in that regard, I didn't have the tools. I wasn't a complete bodybuilder to beat a Dorian or so. I just wasn't. I was just a guy who loved to train, who loved to be big, mm-hmm. but not in a sense a professional. There's so much more of being a professional and winning those shows, Mm-hmm. So no, I never felt like, even when Dorian was on the way down, '96, '97, that I would have a shot, even being more compared to him. Absolutely not. Mm-hmm. And in '97, I think I was fifth in the finale, what was rare. Usually you kept your placing from the pre-judging. Doesn't matter. It didn't matter how you posed. So I clearly felt like I beat Paul Dillette and Kevin Levroni. Mm-hmm. But again, it would be fifth instead of seventh. So it would be nice to be in a finale once, but it wouldn't make any difference for my life now.
Yeah. Interesting. How about your relationship with Joe Weider? Can you talk about that a little bit?
Oh yeah. The man was absolutely unbelievable to me. So mm-hmm. I had great contracts long before Weider. I worked with Ultimate Nutrition Europe, mm-hmm. and I sold a lot of products for them and made really, really great money. So I went to the Arnold's Classic in '96, and didn't look good. It was just very, very big. And met Joe Weider backstage. So he invited me to come to his office. And back then, I think the standard first contract he put in front of everybody was $24,000 a year. Mm-hmm. So I say to my translator, I said, I live in Switzerland. This is like, you cannot live in a shoebox, with that kind of money. I made way more with Ultimate Nutrition. And he's mm-hmm. like, okay, take it or leave it. Mm-hmm. So then a week later, I went to San Jose, and I looked way better than at the Arnold's. So he invited me back. You know, a few months later, he took his time. He invited me back, and he's like, "What about 4 years, $86,000 a year, and you can make as much money as you want on the side?" And that was pretty much. I always thought you can only get 1 year contracts. You know, I think it was pretty much new that anybody got a 4 year contract. I think later on, Lou or Gunther had longer contracts, but even Dorian, I believe, trained had year-to-year contracts. So, and I was really, I really didn't know what to do, because Ultimate Nutrition treated me so well, but I also thought, well, he does have the magazines, and this might be important. So I did sign with him and made a lot of money. But when you talk to the relationship, I think he really believed I could be the next Arnold, or the next big thing from Europe. And I hate that I had to disappoint him. You know, I really, really hate that. So at the end of my career, when he got more and more pressure from his lawyers to drop me, he was always standing up for me. And even although there was a time where I had to, from month to month, go and take my shirt off to make sure I'm still training, you know. But he really is incredible how he really, really believed in me. You know, he really did. So, yeah, the man was important. Without him, I couldn't have come to the United States, could not have gotten a green card. And I think at the end, after the accident, he knew I'm done. And he called me in the hospital, and he said, "Don't worry about anything, you know. We're going to keep your contract." You know, my contract was just about to expire. "We're going to keep your contract up." And then just go on stage one time a year, just one time a year. And I had no interest in doing so. So I went to the Night of Champions, no legs, no real prep. And then pretty much after the Night of Champions, my contract expired again. And I went back to the office to thank everybody and move on with my life. And they gave me another contract.
Wow.
You know,
That's amazing. Wow.
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing, you know. So yeah, although he did let me wait a little longer in the lobby later in my career, you know. So I gotta, but yeah, the guy, I think and I remember when I went in the first time, you know, in Switzerland, nobody knows anything. And then there was this like, "Oh, I don't know, but he's probably gay, and, you know, and you're going to have to do all those services." And, you know, although I didn't believe it, but, you know, I remember I went to the office the first time, and he let me wait for a bit the first time. And I went to the bathroom and pumping up and pumping up and pumping up again, pumping up again, guy. And he knew the idiot is pumping out there, you know. So he let me wait a little longer, wait until I was so worn out. So I went in, and he said, "Take off your shirt." And okay, you know, took off my shirt, and he says, "Let's go to the bathroom. There's a better light there." And I thought, "Oh, don't freaking tell me there is anything to this stuff." But he really only wanted to go to the bathroom because there was a better light in there, you know. It's just like, you know, the guy, and then he started to kind of push me on this pose and that pose, and he was so into it, you know. I mean, the guy really loved bodybuilding, and he really wanted to give us a shot, you know, to live an athlete's life, what was possible, to at least cover the base expenses. And he didn't make us rich, but he really gave us a shot, you know. And the guy was amazing, absolutely.
Yeah. Do you see that movie Bigger?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So do you think that pretty depicts him real well?
Well, I like the first part, you know, when the early years. And I mean, I'm sure it wasn't easy in the 50s to convince a banker to go and get a loan for a place where men go to sweat. You know, I think that part is pretty accurate. And I talked to Ed Connors about what he feels about the movie. And he's like, wow, especially Betty Weider, he said she was like, got that part to perfection, the actress, you know. And he did tell me that there's a lot of good stuff in that movie. I didn't like the part where he goes to the Austrian mountains and finds this guy training in a stable, because we all know that didn't happen. You know? So yeah, it was great. I absolutely loved it.
They had to drama it up a little bit.
Yeah.
I
don't think you should. You can put a life like his into a movie. You know, there should be like a 6-part series on Netflix or something like that. You know, so
So we'll so the last thing we'll talk about is your injury here, if I can find it somewhere up here. This here. I know you probably hate looking at that picture by now, huh?
Well,
But so this was a photo shoot.
yeah. It's the day I saved my life.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can you tell us about it? Go ahead.
Yeah, people say you use too much weight and all of that. No, I wasn't a serious bodybuilder anymore. That's why this happened. I knew I don't want to be on stage anymore, but they wanted me to do like this one show a year and some photo shoot. And I mean, for close to $100,000, I should do that. I did not even take a lot of steroids at that time, and went to this photo shoot. And I just didn't train like that anymore. But I did use exactly this weight about a week before. I did a little video with a friend of mine for my member section on my website back then, and it wasn't really a big deal. And would this be a few years earlier, I would have squatted 20 reps with that weight, And I don't know what happened here, other than it was kind of chilly in that gym. And I was just not that kind of bodybuilder anymore who should have done stuff like that. And as you guys know, as I talked to you before, the second I hit the floor, it was the biggest relief of my life. There was no pain or anything like that, at least not at first. It was just like, oh my God, this is, I knew everything tore. I knew exactly what happened because I felt it like in slow motion, both quads tear, and the way the right leg was kind of twisted out. I knew it's not going to be something where, oh, what happened? Maybe it's not too bad. I just knew this is it. I finally can move on with my life, So,
and this was at Milos's gym, you said?
Yeah, Milos was there. He was running, bringing ice right away. And everybody was so hectic and thing. And I was totally calm on the floor. I was totally composed and calm and just happy. I don't know. It's hard to explain, It's just always felt like maybe it's like a soldier who's not getting seriously injured on the battlefield. When they get them into the helicopter, maybe it's some kind of, I don't want to ever in any way compare myself to a soldier who gets shot at, but it's a relief, It's just, I didn't want to do this anymore. I didn't want to eat like that anymore. I didn't want to take any steroids anymore. My business was going very, very well. My personal training business, my website, I just did not want to be this person anymore. And then there was this hype in Germany about this duel with Markus Ruhl for the Night of Champions, which I had no interest in. Oh God, I'm going to go to New York and the guy's probably 700 pounds, I just here with, there was there would have been 2 weeks later or something like that. So I was just happy to be out.
Yeah. How long was your rehab on that?
Yeah, it was tough.
Yeah.
It really was. It was the patella was tough, on my right leg. So I did have the greatest care in the world. So I was in the hospital for 3 months, in a therapy center for another 5 weeks, and after that, it was pretty much my right leg didn't react to any form of training anymore. It's just whatever I did. And
then nerve damage or something, huh?
Yeah. And soon later, not too long later, a few years later, was not that I was still training anymore, arthritis crept into that knee so badly. And I just got it replaced recently, and it's so nice now, And it's kind of funny that as I was talking to my doctor for the knee replacement, I said, I think I can build my legs a little bit with light weights, since my right leg was just mushy. And now when I can train pain-free, there's still really no reaction when it comes to growth. I think, it's just probably age. And the only way I get some kind of reaction, some kind of stimulation is with the BFR bands. And I'll be willing to pay to try with the newbie machine maybe. But normal training, I'm pain-free, and that's kind of the more important thing.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. You look like you still got some good size on you. What do you weigh right now?
Oh, 240.
Oh man, yeah, you still look good.
I train 3 times a week for an hour,
Mhm.
but lightweights and
Yeah.
but I was always I was born to be heavyweight, as skinny as I was. The second I touched weight, you know, I mean, after a couple 3 years of training, there was never a kind of what category I'm going to be in. You know, I was a heavyweight. You know, so big wide shoulders, and although I could be a little leaner, you know, that's thank God for shirts.
The most important thing, you still have your hair.
Yeah, but I'm gonna tell you something really funny about my hair.
I'm not picking on you, Ian.
I thought that was a bit of a dig there.
So 96 press conference, the camera goes through, and I'm the only one with a full set of hair. And I didn't like that at all. So I talked to my steroid guy in Switzerland. I said, "Are you sure our stuff is working?" You know, it's like, then nobody freaking has hair. And I show up like a freaking, you know, have all this hair on my head, you know, are you sure? It's like, yeah, it's working. You wouldn't look like that if it's not working, you know? So, I was, I found something in anything. So I really liked my hair when I was training back then.
Yeah, you and Jay Cutler.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's awesome.
When I look at Ian, is my age, and he kind of got the better era.
I shared mine.
No, I don't talk about your hair. I talk about your the time you competed. So, what year was your first pro show?
My first pro show was 93.
19, say again?
1993 was my first pro show. The English.
Okay. So you missed the best era too, but at least a little earlier than me, you know. So I just love the 80s, Scott.
Yeah.
Oh, I did. Yeah. I turned pro in 89, but I was only 20-year-old.
Wow, that's been incredible. So, yep.
Ryan, when'd you turn pro?
What, 2013? So I'm
Oh, okay. You're
but no, growing up, I was the one like idolizing these guys. I was a child of the 90s, and I just watching the 90s era of bodybuilding. To me, that was the pinnacle in my eyes. But, you know, looking back as being a student of the sport as well, I always looked up to all the guys from Arnold's era, then the Lee Haney era as well. So,
you know, the 90s became like really serious, where the 80s seemed to be like somewhat more of a party.
Right.
So I remember when I used to go to Venice 6 weeks before the show and totally lock myself up, go to the gym 3 times a day. So I met the guy from the 80s. And he's like, "Oh my God, we had so much fun. We went out partying, and you know, I cannot imagine doing this army style like you." And I think they all lived in Venice back then, you know, other than Lee Haney and Gaspari, I believe. It's kind of funny when I think about it. They were the two always beating everybody else. So yeah, I mean, in the 80s, which is something else. Yeah.
I grew up idolizing the 80s guys too. I mean, Lee Haney. Lee Haney and Tom Platz actually were probably my two biggest idols growing up.
Yes, I saw him guest posing 1 week after the Olympia in Rimini. And he was not in his best shape in Rimini. He was a little bit too big. And I remember I was waiting outside the locker room. He came to Lucerne to guest pose. I mean, first of all, I remember they drove him in with a limo, a 12-hour ride, and gave him $10,000 in 1989 to guest pose.
Wow.
So I was I wanted to focus on his weaker body parts. And I was waiting there. He walks out, and I looked at his legs and his arms, and I was so overwhelmed how great those body parts are, you know. So, but another thing I saw, which I never achieved with him, he generally seemed to have fun. You know, I mean, he was, I know it's a week after the Olympia, I get that, but I don't think whenever I saw him, he had any form of stress or anything like that, where I can't really say the same about me, you know. I remember being in a hotel bar with Roland Churlock, and we both feeling sorry for ourselves that we can eat, and and he looks at me and he says something in a form of I'd rather be in prison than this. It's kind of sad, I think that was one of the differences also why I couldn't make quite the jump to be one of the very, 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 very best. I couldn't find the kind of same enjoyment like Lee Haney had, or and also like Ronnie. When you see Ronnie, I think you really, really, truly enjoy to be a bodybuilder.
Yeah.
Where I was at my doubts, what is this gonna do for my later life, and have to inject all of this stuff. And I think once you're already going down that route with the doubts and being not happy in your own skin, it's gonna be tough to win. Yeah.
What did you enjoy most? Did you enjoy guest posing or competing?
Training.
Just the training. Okay.
Training. The guest posings, I love the money. I made really great money at up to 40 guest posings a year.
What was your favorite place?
The guest pose?
Yeah.
Rio de Janeiro or Japan.
Japan?
Oh, Japan. I mean, I love that they pay you like $6,000. And then we pay your first class flight.
Oh, wow.
It's like from Switzerland, like $11,000-$12,000. So I said, well, I really like to book my own flights. I mean, I haven't been all over the place. Can you just transfer me the money? I go, oh, no problem. Doing a bank transfer. So of course I flew couch. Of course I flew couch. Yeah. So then you got the $6,000 for the guest posing, the $10,000 for the flight. And when you had a small event with 700-800 people, about 600 bought your autograph. I think $20 was not a lot of money for them over there.
Yeah.
So and the whole way the way they see things, the humor they have, and I absolutely enjoyed Japan. I went over there several times, and Brazil is just incredible, so absolutely incrediable. So guest posing was fun in off season, but it was also, I always felt like it hurts my training, because Dorian hardly guest posed, and I was all over the place. So in some way, I didn't quite enjoy it as much as as Nasser did, But the training, the heavy training, going home after 6 sets of 300 kilo squats, that feeling is just, and the strength you have, the pump you have, that feeling was quite incredible.
I agree with that. That's
And then when it comes to the shows itself, it's probably much more enjoyable if you win those shows, but I had no pleasure of it. First of all, I didn't speak English, I go over there and it's all weird, and you have your translator there, and didn't enjoy all of that, I didn't, but that might have something to do with my placings, so I remember I placed 7 at Olympia, and I cried on the phone like a baby, to my girlfriend, I said, oh, no, it's never gonna work, and that was not enjoyable to me. It really wasn't. And,
I gotta ask you something though before we go. So we got all these awesome pictures here. Where's it at? So you got all these awesome pictures here, and I thought it was funny. And then you come up to this one up here. What's with all the cats? You got a lot of cats, huh?
After I retired from bodybuilding, I started a personal training business, which shortly run kind of by itself. I had so many trainers working for me, and I wanted to do something different. No interest in hanging out in the gym. So I started volunteering at the local shelter. And I became quite famous for being the cat whisperer here. I just had a special bond with them, and I made my goal to adopt out the undesirable, the ones who have absolutely no chance to be ever adopted out. So that's what I put all my effort in, and then started my own cat rescue. So all the cats in my house are the ones who really have no chance, So you will not believe some of the stories of those cats who are on my lap there, what they went through and where they come from. So that's kind of what that all what that all is about. So my organization, JEAN-PIERRE Fuchs Cat Rescue, is in the trap neuter release program. So we are taking over certain areas. We trap the cats. We bring them to the doctor, and then if there's any chance that there might be you might be able to socialize them, any small chance, I take them home, and if not, I release them wherever I found them. So unfortunately, even if I can socialize them for myself, they're not social enough to be adopted out. And then I started to buy bigger and bigger properties because I had more and more cats, which you couldn't keep them inside, and you don't want to put them back out in nature. So I bought this big property. We put special fencing out, around it, cat-proof fencing, and I became pretty much, according to my wife, the worst adopter in the history of any cat rescue. I have so many requirements because I remember I met this little cat recently, which I didn't want to adopt out, and my wife is like, she has to go. We have too many, guy. So this couple came to look at them, and I say to my wife on the way out, because I cannot be home when this all happens, I have to leave. It says, ask for their credit score and their banking history. And she's like, are you nuts? Are you freaking nuts? I can't ask those people for a credit history,
To get credit score for a cat.
Yeah, I said the cat gets sick and the people have no money and then it ends up in the shelter, it's kind of important, I say to her, guy. Of course, the cat left and it's okay, guy. It is. So
how many cats do you have right now?
On the property, it's always changing. Right now on my property, there are about 21.
Oh, that's not too bad, I guess.
No.
Not for a rescue.
And I built a lot of, enclosures and tree houses and trees. And so then I have a feral community, but 2 miles away from here, which we go twice a day to feed and to trap. And we started there with about 30 cats. And you'll not believe, this was in 2009. We are down to 1 cat.
Oh, there. Wow.
That's 1 cat. Yeah. So probably we're going to dissolve that. And then I have a garage in the back of the property, away from my house. We leave that slightly open at night. So when any cat comes in there, which we lure in with food, and we trap them there. So there's about 5-6 garages, we call them, 21 on my property and 1 left in our feral community. So soon I can take over another project.
Cool. And you said you're training what, 3 days a week?
3 to 4. I mean, I don't like to do one-on-one training, but I have so many good clients leftovers from my time as a personal trainer. So I kept a few. 4 or 5 guys,
Okay.
They probably won't mind if I say the super rich ones, the one who can really afford me. So I go in Monday, Wednesday, Friday for a few hours, but I can work out with them, so that's the deal we have.
Okay.
So I always choose one to work out with, but it's not like in any way resembling a bodybuilding workout in a sense, I like to talk and, we just kind of goof around but just pumping, and it feels okay. And it's not, I can live without working out, sadly, as much as I liked it, was not for health reasons, I could never step a foot into a gym again.
No.
But, I don't want to call my neighbor when I'm starting to open a can or something, and it's just, and I try to keep my cardio up, not very successful recently, but just kind of try to stay healthy and look somewhat okay,
Cool.
Yeah.
Ryan, you got anything?
No, man, I'm just sitting here listening because, like I said, I'm a big fan when I was young. So I'm just.
Yeah, I could sit and listen to these stories forever, man. That's why I love it. That's why I do this. I love the 80s, 90s guys, man. You guys.
I did one thing. I do notice the fiber lies you have back there on your shelf behind you, and I'm a huge lover and supporter of the fiber lies.
One of the greatest bodybuilding products, yeah.
Oh, that's every night, man. Every night that's my ritual. That's the last thing I do before I go to bed, man. That is my favorite.
if you ever stop taking it and then go back on, you know it works. Good.
Oh, yeah, big time, big time. I've saved a lot of money over the years on toilet paper with that stuff. So
Yep. And my father had colon cancer, and I'm gonna make really sure my colons are working and stuff is moving. So yeah, it's a great product. I like the species products in general, so just those for athletes,
Yeah.
And I do have a fairly medium-sized online business, so I do train about 35-40 athletes online, and the same amount of lifestyle clients. And I do like it, but it is a big part is to finance all my cat rescue stuff. And but occasionally you get a good one, and it's fun when you get a good one. But I'm not going to be the guy who goes from show to show to scream at some kind of amateur athletes. And it's it's fun when you get a good one, but it's also in some way very frustrating to work with the young people, guys. It's just the entitlement is just it's just absolutely incredible when you, especially coming from our era and knowing what we did, to move up. And now they hire you, and then 3 minutes later, after they send you some video, I want a broke heart, guy. It's just, oh my God, I don't know what to say to you, guy. And I became quite an expert in bikini and wellness, so. By accident more. It's another long story I could talk about for like a half an hour now, but we do have a lot of bikini athletes. I'm going to give you a quick thing how it all started. I met my wife through a website, and all I saw there is a picture and a bikini girl from India. So whenever the bikini girls walked in, they compete at the end here in California. I walked out. I had no interest. I saw a couple of bikini shows at the Olympia, and I had no interest.
Same here.
In watching bikini girls. So my wife now, my first date, said to me, "Are you working out? Kind of big, I said, "Not really." She's like, "I'm a competitor. I trained 11 times in bikini. Do you ever think of competing?" She said to me. I'm like, nah, not really, just I work out a little bit, guys. I have a coach. You should get in touch with him. And if you don't want to get too big, there's different categories in this sport, so you can choose a different category. So I said, "So who's your coach?" I was like, "Yeah, that's so-and-so guy. He was one of my online clients."
And she had no idea who you were, obviously.
No idea. So she was prepping for the show. She stayed full on diet. We went to a fisherman's market kind of place. 2 or 3 weeks later, she competed at that show, and I went with her. Again, nothing made sense to me what they did, but I didn't want to get involved. I don't know anything about bikini, and then nothing made sense. So it got more and more weirder and weirder as the show got closer. And then, of course, I saw my first bikini show. She placed like 4th or something like that. And I say to her, "Look, I'm not an expert in this. I'm going to tell you that, okay? But if you want to keep doing this, this is garbage what you guys do. Let's just let me help you and achieve more of a look like those other girls have there, okay?" So I trained her for 3 months. We went back to a show. She placed 2nd, looked absolutely fantastic. And then another bikini girl, another friend came, and another one, and another one. And then, so I became quite a bikini expert. And I'm really, really liking the wellness category. So, I have more bikini girls than bodybuilders right now.
Oh, wow.
Awesome.
Yeah, wellness is starting to take off here, too. So.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I absolutely love the look. It's not for everybody. I understand that. Many years ago, in 2016, 17, I went to the Amateur Olympia in Medellin. Actually, it was the other federation. It was the IFBB Elite League. And I had no idea about. I had a team in Colombia of bodybuilders, and I had no idea about wellness. So those girls walked out, 52 girls, and there was this one girl in the middle. Like, holy moly, what the hell is that? And my friends down in South America were totally disappointed that I don't know her. It's Angela Borjas, Angela Borjas, she wins every show. Okay? Like, wow, that look I really like. And she, I think, won then 58 shows in a row. Okay?
Oh, wow.
And is now part of the IFBB and of the Pro League, and just won in Pittsburgh 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm fascinated with the whole, wellness category.
Cool. Ian, we got stuff coming up with you, huh? The posing seminar.
Yes, June 19th.
June 19th, yeah.
At your place, Brian.
Yeah. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna host it there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking forward to it. It's gonna be good.
Yeah.
Are you coming out, Jason?
What's that?
Are you gonna be there?
Yeah, I'll be there.
Cool.
Yeah, I'll be there.
Yeah.
Now, Jean-Pierre, if anybody wanted to donate to your cause and help you out with your foundation, how do they do so?
Yes, I have on my Instagram, I have 2 accounts. One is JP Fuchs Cat Rescue. You find it on my normal JP Fuchs account, and everything is highlighted there, so it's easy to find me there.
All right, great, man.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Great cause.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. I really appreciate you coming on the show. Like I said, I love listening to you guys' story, man. It's awesome.
Thank you so much. Hey, by the way, I just became American 2 weeks ago.
Did you? Oh, congratulations.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Now, where are you located now? Where are you living?
Palm Springs.
Okay, so California. Okay, I got you.
Yeah, but 2 hours inland from LA.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So you're a little
Middle of the
kind of
desert.
away from the mess.
Yeah, it's great here, but it's hot as hell. It's 120 degrees in the summer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's hot here too.
I was gonna say that. It's getting pretty hot here as well.
Mm-hmm.
All
Yeah,
right.
All right. Well, thank you, sir. Gentlemen, thank you again for coming on the show. I really appreciate it.
Sure.
Well, yeah.
Thank you, guys, and thank you, Ian. Yeah.
Yeah. Until next time.
So,